If you're struggling to stay focused on your business, constantly stuck in a loop of procrastination, wondering why your motivation keeps crashing, it's not your fault, it's your brain's reward system which is all jacked up. I'm Thomas, I'm a doctor, and in the next 8 minutes I'm going to show you the exact 6-week dopamine protocol that will rewire your dopamine system, rebuild your motivation, and install deep work habits that will finally make you work like a machine even after a 9 to 5. Alright, here we go. So let's zoom in. This is the doctor designed protocol to rewire focus, motivation, and deep work. Especially if you're a side hustler with a 9 to 5. This will change how you work forever if you take value from this video and apply it over the next 6 weeks. My credibility is that I am a full-time doctor. I have a side hustle, which is building this personal brand. Of course, I'm doing this in real time. I'm overcoming this problem, which if you have a 9 to 5, if you're trying to build a business, you have these time constraints. It can cause a lot of stress. It can cause a lot of burnout. So how do we overcome this? Well, I discovered gamification. This is really helping me and a lot of people. I've built systems and I'm able to achieve daily deep work, and it's fun and I'm not being burnt out. So how did I go from being a stressed out, burnt out doctor, juggling, trying to build a business on the side, to someone who actually enjoys it? Well, let me take you through this 6-week dopamine reset protocol. So what's the real problem? Dopamine burnout loop. What do I mean by that? Let's go to the cycle. So you have overstimulation. We'll talk about what that is, but it's from your phone, it's from TikTok, it's from YouTube, it's from short form content. Your brain is constantly being overstimulated in today's society. What does that mean for your brain? You're getting these constant dopamine spikes. You're getting hits. I'll show you this graph in a second, but you're basically getting these short dopamine hits. And with these hits will become the crash. So dopamine spike, crash, below baseline. Because you feel so shit, you want to get back above baseline again, you have another craving, another dopamine spike, and then another crash. And this is what your dopamine system looks like throughout the day. And maybe it takes until going to bed, where you literally sleep and aren't overstimulating yourself, for it to kind of wander up towards a low level baseline. Okay, so that is the crash. That is the dopamine spike and the crash. This leads to procrastination, because when your dopamine level is below baseline or a very low level, you're not going to be motivated to do hard stuff. You're going to know you need to do hard stuff, but you're going to procrastinate. You're going to feel put off by it. Okay, that's where procrastination comes into. And when you do procrastinate and you're not achieving the work, you're going to experience guilt. And this is just going to perpetuate this cycle. How are you going to overcome these hard feelings of guilt and procrastination and feeling bad? Well, you're going to have another dopamine spike. You're going to seek out more cravings, more short form content, another dopamine spike, and that's just going to worsen the cycle. Okay, so in that way it just repeats the cycle. This is the cycle that you're in. This is the overstimulation cycle, or the short quick dopamine cycle. So that's just where we're in at the moment. That's how you understand that. That's the dopamine burnout loop. And I've told you about what that looks like in terms of a graph. Compare that with a healthy graph. This is the same dopamine here in green, okay? And let's say this is your baseline. This green is a slow acting healthy dopamine hit. This could be a cold shower, this could be exercise, this could be your deep work. You release dopamine slowly, in a slow manner, and it rises slowly throughout the day. And when it does come down, let's say you've gone for a run and it comes down slowly, you're still above baseline for most of the day. And when it does come down, you don't have these big crashes like you see here with the bad quick dopamine, the TikTok dopamine. Instead, you don't actually come much below your baseline at all. So this is the healthy, the slow acting dopamine. And this is going to make you feel good, and it's going to make you feel good for longer and not have these crashes. And the main thing is that you're not going to get in these procrastination, these guilt loops, and get stuck in this cycle. Instead, with this healthy amount of dopamine, it's going to drive you to have more motivation to do hard things, because it takes a little bit of effort to unlock this sort of slow acting dopamine. Whether it's going out for a run, whether it's going to the gym, it requires that initial bit of energy, that activation. It's doing something hard, whether it's stepping into a cold shower. You don't just get the dopamine for free. It requires a bit of effort. So because you've done that hard thing, your motivation will go up and it will rise, and you'll have more belief that you can do hard things, and you'll actually want to do hard things. So that's what that looks like. The motivation goes up every time you complete one of these actions. things. Whereas every time you look at your phone, look at TikTok, eat junk food, look at porn, your motivation is going to be going down exponentially. And you're going to feel worse and worse, and you're going to just have more cravings to try and feel better. It really is a massive difference about which sort of dopamine you're choosing. So now we understand the burnt out, quick acting dopamine brain versus the healthy dopamine brain. Let's move on to what the first 1 to 2 weeks of this dopamine reset protocol looks like. So we want to rebuild your baseline before you focus on the hard, deep work. What do I mean by your baseline? Well, let's have a look at another cycle. So basically this is a cycle of all the dopamine in your life, the sources of dopamine. We've got some good stuff, we've got some bad stuff. We've got sunlight, we've got low stimulation movement, we've got sleep hygiene, we've got protein and hydration. These sources are all going to make your baseline good. It's going to be able to maintain it. It's going to keep that dopamine baseline up high, and you're going to keep getting exposed to these green dopamines, which are going to cause you to feel good, dopamine to be released, and not for you to go below your baseline. You will have dopamine constraints in your life, and this is the biggest thing that's going to make you feel worse. It's going to give you these spikes, and it's going to cause a lower baseline. This is TikTok, junk food, porn, etc. We want to remove this from the cycle. That's the biggest thing. We want our dopamine sources to just be the slow acting dopamine sources. These things activate the dopamine loop. It makes work feel rewarding. It builds streaks and progress. So now we have optimized our dopamine baseline. We want to actually go on from that. So we want to increase our dopamine even more before we start on the deep work activity. So you don't want to just wake up and maybe feel a bit groggy. Your dopamine baseline is lower than what it could be. How can we prime it up? How can we increase it? Well, you can wake up, you can get some morning wins under your belt, whether that's a cold shower, some cardio, some light exercise. You can have some caffeine, you can get out in the sun. You can also have a mental prime. So what is gonna remind your body that you're about to start some deep work, some focus? You know, whether it's putting headphones on, the act of that, or playing some music, taking a glass of water. What triggers can you do that will actually prime your prefrontal cortex that it's ready for action? So it's developing that routine. What small wins can you do? What small activities can you do? And what triggers and cues can you do to get your body ready to get into some deep work? So in this way, you're stacking yourself in 2 layers, neurochemically with light exposure, caffeine, breath work, but also behaviorally. So this really primes your body, ready to lock into work. What your brain repeats, it wires in. So let's get into week 5 and 6, the deep work protocol. So I've created a table for the principles of deep work. This includes cue, same time, same place. You want to prime yourself, like we talked about, giving yourself the same triggers, breath work, music, and you want to be able to unlock focus, deep work, flow state. This means a 60 to 90 minute block. You want to be distraction free. You want to focus on one task. So not have multiple tasks switching, because that's going to destroy your focus. It's going to destroy your ability to get into flow state. And you want to be aware of the reward that you're going to get, not just at the end of the session, which will build motivation, but also throughout. So you can have a ongoing scorecard. You can have little wins or celebrations during the actual session. I'm going to talk to you more about that as well. So the daily scorecard can include, at the end of the deep work, you need to reward yourself. You need to tick off deep work done for the day. You know, you log your wins. You can even reflect on your mood. And just by taking account of how you're feeling, the wins you've accumulated, this is going to build motivation. This is going to rewire your reward system so you start craving that. You can also give yourself a reward at this point. You can give yourself even an easy dopamine hit. You can have that chocolate. You can watch that Netflix episode. It's okay at this point because you're associating it with hard work. It's not just a reaction to an emotion or a craving. It's actually a reward for the hard work that you've done. So over time, your brain will start linking that easy reward, that dopamine hit, with the hard work itself. And you might find that you get enough enjoyment, enough dopamine out of the deep work itself that you don't need these easy dopamine wins at the end also. Okay, so what gets tracked gets improved. And we were talking about reflecting on your deep work. So the 3 reflection questions I like to ask are: what worked well? What drained my energy? What's the one thing I'll double down on next time? And if you just answer these 3 questions at the end of each day, you'll start to really identify the constraints of you focusing, getting into deep work, getting into flow state, the things that are going well, and the things you can improve on. We want to get used to this cycle, not just executing consistently, but also getting that 1% better with awareness and making adjustments. We do this through tracking, making a small adjustment, giving yourself the reward for following through and executing, and then repeating that. This can be a daily review flywheel or a weekly review flywheel. Okay, that's basically all I wanted to say today. I hope you got some value out of that. If you do want the template to make this all easier, I've created a template for this 6-week plan. You can download that in the link in the description of this video. It's in my free community. If you found value, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.